begin with a terrible winter, gusting out of the distant north.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 House of the Dragon fan theories. Explained.
I know it sounds foolish.
I don't think it's foolish.
For this list, we're looking at popular online predictions for this Game of Thrones prequel series, both in terms of where it's going and what it might reveal. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones or the first couple of episodes of House of the Dragon, there will be spoilers, in addition to potential spoilers. Which of these theories do you subscribe to? Defend your pick in the comments. Number 10. It retcons Game of Thrones Seasons 7 and 8. This will be music to the ears of anyone who found the last two seasons lackluster. As fans will remember, Season 6 closes out with Daenerys sailing to Westeros with her dragons flying overhead. As pretty much everyone will remember, the premiere of House of the Dragon cuts from the Great Council prologue to Rhaenyra soaring over King's Landing atop her dragon Syrax. Given the similar shots, fans have interpreted them as the showrunner's subtle way of retconning what followed after for Dany and company. That, or the events of House of the Dragon are meant to be watched immediately after Season 6, almost as a thematic flashback of sorts. In any case, anything that can improve Seasons 7 and 8 is cool with us.
I imagine for most of them it would be an improvement.
This is serious.
Number 9. Viserys has grayscale.
It's a small cut from sitting the throne. It's nothing.
One troubling development early on is King Viserys' strange skin ailment, which goes from his back to his finger between episodes.
This is our best chance to save the digit, Your Grace. The maggots will remove the dead flesh and hopefully stop the advance of the rot.
Naturally, whenever fans think of spreading Game of Thrones afflictions, they jump to grayscale.
Stone men, don't let them touch you!
It makes sense that people may not be widely aware of grayscale at the time House of the Dragon takes place, but there are more than a few counterpoints to knock this theory down. For one thing, the appearance of Viserys' symptoms are not totally in keeping with what we know of grayscale, even on a timeline perspective. And second, grayscale is highly contagious to touch, so it's likely he would have spread it by now.
You swore to obey my commands for the rest of your life. Well, I command you to find the cure. Wherever it is in this world.
Since we actually see him prick his finger on the throne, it's likely it really is throne-related. Number 8. Viserys' ailment is a little more hereditary. Now we're jumping from one fan theory about Viserys into the other. This counterpoint claims that Viserys' mystery illness is a little more real-world, or at least a Westerosi real-world equivalent.
Whatever it is, it needs to be kept quiet.
Since the first season of Game of Thrones, fans have always joked that certain family members are, how do we say this? Very close. Too close, if you catch our meaning. And as people know in the real world, this can come with some genetic complications when it comes to offspring.
Targaryens wed brothers and sisters for 300 years to keep bloodlines pure. Jaime and I are more than brother and sister.
Viserys Targaryen, unfortunately, came from dubious parentage, as Balon and Alyssa Targaryen were also siblings. This would definitely not be a fun explanation per se, but we wouldn't put it past a show whose predecessor went way, way further.
You're a hateful woman. Why have the gods made me love a hateful woman?
Number 7. Laena will fly.
What was it like flying the Black Dread? You were Valerian's last rider.
Only for a short time.
As we know, Game of Thrones became somewhat liberal with the source material in the latter seasons, even despite the eventual lack of source material to pull from. So, just because something happens in Fire and Blood, the book House of the Dragon is directly based on, that doesn't mean it'll happen on the show. Yet fans are already seeing the seeds planted of a future dragon rider coming into her own.
Do you know where she nests?
I'm sorry?
Do you know where Vhagar is now?
The Dragon Keepers believe she made home somewhere on the coast of the Narrow Sea.
In the second episode, Viserys has a pleasant, if uncomfortable, walk and talk with Laena Velaryon, who members of his small council have recommended he marry. Again, uncomfortable. But Laena seems much more interested in dragons, particularly Vhagar.
Is that what your father told you to say?
Since Laena rides Vhagar on the page, we're confident she will also do so on screen. Number 6. Wild dragons. Obviously, with Vhagar out doing her own thing, there's at least one wild dragon out and about. But this theory insists that there are more dragons lurking, ones that haven't been tamed.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with.
With the show set long before dragons actually died out, it makes sense that we'd see a lot more of them.
Over 1,000 dragons, a navy large enough to span the seas of the world. The glory of old Valyria will never be seen again.
Whether we see this theory play out this season or later, it's not implausible to think that there could be a lot more than the Targaryens have under their thrall. To this end, fans have already speculated on the appearance of particular dragons, such as one called Cannibal. And yes, you would be right in thinking that Cannibal ate other dragons, particularly dead ones, young ones, and unhatched ones. Number 5. Rhaenyra will align with Daemon. Daemon Targaryen quickly established himself as the heel of House of the Dragon, to put it in wrestling terms. But what if his outright villainy is too on the nose?
I intend to marry. The Lady Alicent Hightower.
Obviously, Viserys' decision to marry Rhaenyra's best friend Alicent Hightower will have major repercussions, both within the house and outside it. And Rhaenyra is already acting disillusioned by it. This theory posits that the rift between her and Viserys will prompt her to seek a solution in Uncle Daemon.
Waiting in the Stepstones is a chance for you to prove your worth to any who might yet doubt it.
It seems like Daemon is already lining up to handle the growing incursion in the Stepstones as a way to appeal to Viserys' dissenters. Rhaenyra could aid him, especially if House Targaryen is being infiltrated, like a later entry exemplifies. Number 4. A different Song of Ice and Fire.
When this great winter comes, Rhaenyra, all of Westeros must stand against it. And if the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. A king or queen, strong enough to unite the realm against the cold and the dark.
Towards the end of the first episode, Viserys recounts to Rhaenyra Aegon's vision of the future, self-titled The Song of Ice and Fire. But it comes with some discrepancies.
What's this?
A Song of Ice and Fire. Archmaester Ebro's history of the wars following the death of King Robert. I helped him with the title.
For starters, we're led to believe that Sam came up with the title on his own in the Thrones finale. Secondly, a Targaryen on the Iron Throne isn't ultimately what stops the dead. And third, wouldn't it be somewhat feasible to think Daenerys and/or her brother Viserys would have known about the song if it was truly passed on through the generations?
So tell me, sweet sister, how do we go home?
I don't know.
Of course, sometimes visions, dreams, prophecies, what have you, are not totally accurate. But this has led fans to speculate on the show's place in the canon, which leads us to our next entry. Number 3. It's a prequel to the books. You'd be safe in thinking that House of the Dragon would be a direct prequel to Game of Thrones, and it almost certainly is. But this fan theory does get us thinking.
There's something else that I need to tell you. Might be difficult for you to understand, but you must hear it.
Going off the Song of Ice and Fire differences, some fans believe the new show is in a different continuity than the last one, and instead shares one with George R.R. Martin's book series. Seeing as Martin is directly developing House of the Dragon, fans are wondering if he's skewing things back over to his world.
We're both men who have had to cut our own way through the world. We've been passed over too often.
We haven't gotten a new novel in his A Song of Ice and Fire series since 2011, but some speculate the next one will line up with what Viserys tells Rhaenyra, among other things.
This secret been passed from king to heir since Aegon's time. Now you must promise to carry it and protect it.
Number 2. The Grand Maester Theory.
Will the Maester's name day prediction hold, Melos?
You must understand that these things are mere estimations, my king, but we have all been poring over the moon charts, and we feel that our forecast is as accurate as it can be.
We all know a Targaryen downfall is coming, and with it, the near extinction of dragons. But what if all that's being deliberately executed from the inside?
The Grand Maester's reasoning is sound.
It's common knowledge that the Order of Maesters oppose magic. And in the A Song of Ice and Fire books, it's been heavily hinted that they secretly plotted to have the dragons wiped out. So what better way to do that than to dismantle the house that's synonymous with them?
It sometimes becomes necessary for the father to make an impossible choice.
Well, speak it.
To sacrifice one, or to lose them both.
Grand Maester Melos already gave faulty advice to perform what would prove to be a fatal cesarean section on Emma. Who's to say he didn't want this outcome? Or that he killed the baby himself? Of course, you cannot talk about the Order without mentioning our next entry. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Sir Otto Hightower is the first big bad.
I thought you might go to him, offer him comfort.
In his chambers.
Going off the Order of Maesters theory, superfans will note that they operate in Old Town, which is also the seat of House Hightower. In fact, the Order wouldn't exist without House Hightower. So, if Hand of the King Otto Hightower really is working with the Maesters, it would definitely explain much of his actions in the first couple of episodes.
Will you see the king tonight?
If you wish it.
Sure, a lot of people make power plays in this universe, but Otto definitely knew what he was doing when he sent Alicent to comfort a grieving Viserys, which of course paid dividends. Now that a Hightower has a direct line to the throne and discord has been sown in House Targaryen, things are starting to point to a Hightower takeover.
You've come for the egg. Here it is.
Are you mad? You'd never survived this.
Well, happily, neither would you.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.